Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, she forgot to do the beef stew, so I, her lovely assistant, reminded her. So this is her back here, getting ready to make beef stew.
Hiding your sister's room.
And hiding my sister's room, because that room is scary. I mean, so is my room, but we're not going to talk about that. For breakfast, I'm having oatmeal with maple syrup and chocolate chips because, guys, I'm literally starving. And then I just started the oven. I'm going to have pizza because, again, I'm starving. So the kind of pizza I'm having is Newman's.
Yeah, I asked for the cheddar, and that's what
the kind of.
But that's good.
This is the pizza that I'm having. Newman's
Sourdough crust.
sourdough crust. Ugh.
No, that's good.
Oh, but we asked her for cheddar, but Jennifer didn't answer. So my lovely assistant's gonna put the pizza in the oven. And she told me to put it on 425, even though right here it says 400.
Oh. Ow.
This is why I'm her assistant. And she's on her second cup of coffee. Whoa.
Luckily I can fit 2 cups in 1 cup.
She's gonna be yelling at me. I'm like, Eva! I'm just kidding.
Not.
I'm kidding. And guys, I thought she was gonna get me McDonald's today.
No, I'm making
And then
beef stew.
instead, she's like, what about beef stew?
Yep.
But maybe she'll get me something at Walmart.
A pillow.
Okay.
What were you thinking?
A spicy Sprite.
Oh, I don't mind getting you a Sprite.
What is he crying about?
He really wants to go outside.
The baby! Girl, what are you doing? You're supposed to make the beef stew.
I gotta peel stuff.
Okay, then show them what you're peeling. Oh my goodness, Pal, you're like moving slow. Okay, and tasting. Is that all the potatoes you're using?
Well, if I have a ton of leftovers, they end up in the trash.
Oh yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to throw out that they made me for dinner.
The corn chili thing?
Yeah, but then and then the thing that we had last night for dinner.
What was last night?
Pasta bake.
Oh, yeah.
But it was sitting out for too long.
Yeah.
And I thought that's gonna be so messy.
No, we wouldn't eat it leftover.
Well, I would have, but that Marigout or whatever sauce you used gave me a headache.
Oh, really?
I think that's what started my nausea.
No, you were nauseous before dinner.
Okay.
What is it about the sauce?
I don't know, just...
I'm glad you told me, because I buy it all the time.
I don't even know. Didn't you used to use the traditional...
Cheap stuff? Yep.
Yeah, that stuff was busting on that.
Alright, I'll work with that. Oh my goodness. Don't you dare lay on that.
Leo.
That is from Nicaragua, man.
If anybody wants Leo, he's for sale.
Dude.
The baby, no one
I
likes
think
you.
we're gross and we let cats up here.
He's so tiny.
This is why we don't have nice things, Leo.
Yeah. The baby.
I'm sorry about my cat, but did you know there was a study out? I read this, so I'm going to pretend it's true. No, I hope it's true. It was saying that there was something in cat saliva that is an antibacterial, and so cats on your counter really don't hurt anything. Although I do always wipe up after him and I get the cleaner out, the whole thing. But I'm just saying that I hope that's true, and I'm saying it to comfort those who are like so grossed out that my cat won't stay off the kitchen island. What did I get him off 3 times? So I'm just saying, he doesn't often get on the kitchen counters behind me, where I am behind me. Once in a while, but he doesn't generally do that. Woozy used to when he was younger, and one time he stepped on one of the burners when it was still hot. Oh, goodness, that was a nightmare. Oh, what a job keeping cats off where they're supposed to be. So I am doing this beef stew in my crock pot. I could also do it on the stove if I chose to. I could brown the meat first. That's what they would tell you to do, and then put the little drippings as well as the beef in there. But I'm not going to do it because I don't have time on this day. What I generally do is about 1 potato for every person that I am feeding. At the most, you would do 1.5 potatoes, but really you do 1.5 potatoes if you were doing mashed potatoes for everyone. You don't need that for a beef stew. And we did still have leftovers. You know, I feel like I'm still adjusting to not having any sons in the house, because that was when the real food went down and got eaten. Now we just try to do the best we can and not have too many leftovers and eat up the leftovers. So I'm cutting up some potatoes, and then I'm going to cut up carrots. Doing it in the morning, I won't have to worry about them cooking through, so that's always good. Then I'll just be cutting up the beef and putting it in there. I tend to do more beef. You know, I don't just do a pound of beef, although that could work, but my family really likes the beef part. So I did 2 packages of beef, so it was probably about 2 pounds of the stewing chunked beef that you get in the grocery store. And then I'm going to peel up some carrots, cut them up, and put those. I mean, you can put any vegetable you want into a beef stew. That's the great part of it. It's a great part of stews. You can also put in an onion. Any onion will do. And then I just toss in beef broth and you're done. You know, you could put in some salt and pepper. You could do some thyme, maybe a little oregano. And my Armenian mother would be so proud if I would add a tablespoon of tomato paste. I did not think to do that on this day, but it definitely elevates things and makes it taste even better, gives it more of a depth of flavor. But I do love being able to just throw a bunch of ingredients in a crock pot and forget about it. And then at the end of the day, we have a nice, delicious soup. You could thicken it with flour and water or cornstarch and cold water, or you could just leave it loose. I opted to leave it loose because Yvonne likes hers more like a soup, even though my husband likes his more like a stew. So there you go. And then you could serve it with biscuits or rolls or without, like we had.
Oh, he's pretending someone's chasing him.
Yeah, he does.
That's really funny. Look, he's pretending Wooz is chasing him. Oh, and now he's coming.
Sometimes he'll whack Woozy and then run.
That's what he did.
He's probably up whining because Woozy's not chasing him.
Yeah. Babe, is your brother a lot? Yeah. Girl, I'm so excited. Oh, there she goes, guys.
What?
With your crying attitude. You're not gonna do the rest of the onion? Never mind.
Fine, I'll give you the onion. If anyone complains about too much onion, I'm gonna blame you.
That's fine.
This is Yvonne that you're hearing in the background, and as I shared with you before, she is pregnant. So for those that are following along, she is either doing really well or really not well. So she will have bad days. She will have bad moments. I noticed that most of her bad moments are either she let the nausea get ahead of medication, didn't take medication because she felt better, or she went to work, which includes a 35-minute drive one way. And the driving is a huge issue. She gets very car sick. So getting in the car, even yesterday, she did end up getting sick. She went to the grocery store with me, which was like a 15-minute drive. And that was too much for her on that day. But I have been reading the comments you guys have put in the video where I announced her pregnancy. And she has teared up over people giving her gifts or people, you all having such sweet remarks. I was given the idea to do a baby shower for her on my channel only for people that are interested. And so that is something I am going to be looking at. I need to get a post office box. And I almost got a post office box about a year ago, and then I kind of chickened out from doing it. So I need to get over to the post office again and kind of decide, do I want to do that in my own town, or should I do it in the next town over for more security? I don't know. I think sometimes I worry too much. You know, we think about the personal details that we add online and how that can be dangerous, but I do feel like I'm just a little needle in a haystack over here in Maine. I'm not my channel's not huge like some people's are, that I would have to worry so much about others wanting to intrude on our privacy. So I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, I'm going to get to that post office box, but your attitudes and your encouragements have meant so much to all of us. You are so very sweet. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and also thank you for spending your time with me each time I upload, and all the times you hit that like button or the subscribe button or leave a comment. And then, did you just see Woozy? I didn't even see that he did that until right now. That is a little beyond even my boundaries.
Nice. Oh.
Ooh, this looks so cute. Aw. He's so cute.
Here's what the beef stew looked like when it was all ready for me to put the top on, add my salt and pepper, and turn it on. I put it on high.
And it goes on high.
This is actually the next day, but I decided to stay with the cozy cooking theme, and then I will show you what the progress has looked like in the bathroom, the upstairs bathroom with our DIY project. This was the next day, and Yvonne was craving cinnamon rolls, and she wanted us to go out and get her some Pillsbury cinnamon rolls. And I said, nope, I'm going to do it one step better. I'm going to make them homemade at home. I have not done this in years upon years upon years, and I'm using the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that I was gifted from my mother-in-law when I got married back in 1990. And I actually have the updated version, but the recipe for cinnamon rolls in that one included mashed potatoes, and I didn't have any mashed potatoes, so maybe I'll try that someday when I have some leftover mashed potatoes. That will be kind of fun, especially after the holidays. But I am making her some cinnamon rolls, and I wanted to get the kitchen cleaned up first. I really don't like to cook in a kitchen that's not tidy. I can handle some dishes in the sink because I know I'm just going to be adding dishes. That doesn't bother me too much. On this day, our church was on a retreat. This is actually a Sunday, and because the church is on a retreat and we were not able to go, the services are canceled, so we were home on this Sunday. I had put 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 package of active dry yeast in the glass bowl, and then I realized it wanted you to heat and stir 1 cup of milk, a 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar, and 1/3 cup of margarine or butter, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt until it's warm, like 120 to 130 degrees. And if you don't have a thermometer, it's when your butter or margarine almost melts. I did cut up the butter before I put it in. Actually, I didn't cut it up before I put it in, did I? Because I'm doing it now in the pan. Once I put it in the pan, then I cut up the butter to give it half a chance to melt a little quickly so the thing wouldn't be boiling before it started to melt. And then I realized it would be better if I used my mixer, so I put the flour and the yeast in the mixer, and then I almost forgot to add the salt to my milk mixture. You know, this was morning, I was doing just great, and then I'm using my whisk, of course, to whisk it all together. While all that was happening, I went and got my eggs. Actually, that's Yvonne's arm, you can see. She just got up and realized what I'm doing, and boy, is she happy. And I got my 2 eggs, and I decided to crack them into a bowl first just to make sure there was nothing wrong with the eggs. I didn't want to take a chance on ruining my flour mixture. And then I'm going to put it into the mixer and mix it up a little bit before I add my warm mixture. The danger, of course, is that you don't want to try making cinnamon rolls with scrambled eggs. So I thought if I mixed it up a little bit first, and also my milk butter mixture is cooling down just the slightest bit, then I wouldn't be so nervous about it scrambling my eggs. When I did my warm mixture, I actually did it in 2 little batches, and I would let it mix for a minute and then I would put it in again. So when you put the 2 eggs in, it said to beat that on low for 30 seconds, scraping the bowl as you were adding the warm mixture. So they didn't want you to be beating it too long on low and then 3 minutes on high. Because it had been so long since other than pizza crust, which is so no fail, because it had been so long since I had done it, I did time it to 3 minutes, and I'm scraping the bowl all the while. You're not going to get to see the whole 3 minutes because that would be boring, so you're just going to have to trust me with it. And then I'm adding as much of the 2.5 cups of flour as the mixture can hold. That was when I was like, okay, I got this, because I'm pretty good at judging when to stop adding flour. You know, I did knead some flour into it, but the whole time you're mixing, you want to be scraping the sides. Do you notice I'm wearing a Starbucks apron? Because Yvonne worked at Starbucks for a short time, and they gave her like 4 aprons. So I'm loving that. And whenever I use a wooden spoon, I always feel like one of those homemaking channels that you watch with the slow living and all of the homemade things that they make. I was very surprised that this actually made a dough that was not that sticky at all. It was extremely easy to work with, and so I was just loving that. Also, it never rose to double. You're going to see in a minute, I didn't put it in the wisest bowl, but even if it doesn't rise to double, these came out so beautifully. They definitely rose in the oven. I put them to rise the right amount of time. I'll also say that where you live and your humidity levels, even your elevation, you know, how far from sea level you are, all of that stuff can really affect how products rise, what type of flour you have to use. So I'm just using all-purpose flour. If I would have used a bread flour, I probably would have had even more success in it rising. So there's so many factors when it comes to dough that sometimes you just have to do your best and trust the process. I would say the most important part is the yeast. If you put your yeast in warm water and after 10 minutes it doesn't even bubble, then you know you probably are in a bit of trouble. I'm using my glass cutting board here to roll it, taking off my ring, because I just felt like it would be easier to roll it on that. It doesn't have any texture to it. I didn't really want to roll it onto my countertop, and so I did the glass cutting board. Okay, it's going to focus here in a second, I promise. There we go. That looks much better. So I'm just kind of using a knife to scrape it off the cutting board and incorporate in the rest of the flour that I wanted to see if it would incorporate in. And then I'm kneading it. I feel like kneading is very satisfying. As I was doing it, it was like, oh my goodness, I had forgotten how long it really takes to do something like this. All of the rise time. So I'm kneading in enough of the remaining flour to make a moderately stiff dough. Again, that smooth and elastic is what it says, 6 to 8 minutes total. So when I see 6 to 8 minutes total, that means I'm going to knead it for 6 to 8 minutes total. Like, I'm going to set a timer. I'm not going to rely on myself to know what smooth and elastic is. My husband is more the dough expert, so I did have him come out and see if my dough felt good, if it looked good. And he said it did, but even if I didn't have him, I just go by whatever time if I am not secure, and I just do it for that amount of time. And I think, well, all the ingredients going in, it's going to taste good either way. I'm just going to do my best here. And so that would definitely be my advice if anyone is new to things that, you know, if you ever wanted to do like homemade bread for the first time or pizza dough, which I definitely have on my channel, is just trust the process, do your best, and at the very least, even if you had a flatbread pizza, you know, flatbread pizza is actually quite good and sometimes in demand. There is just something so beautiful of seeing a homemade dough sitting on the counter, any kind of bread dough, any kind of bread product. Whether or not you eat it, it's still very satisfying to play with. I shaped it into a ball, and then it said to put it in a lightly greased bowl so that it could rise to double. In hindsight, I should have put it in that glass bowl that I started out with. Anyone thinking it's about to fall off the countertop besides me? It is so funny when you edit and you're like, whoa, what was I doing? So after about an hour, when it had supposedly doubled, I don't think it doubled, you're supposed to punch it down, divide it into 2, and then you let it rise again for 10 minutes covered. Then you're going to shape it, bake it as directed. So what I was doing here was dividing it into 2. Once I had it divided, then I was covering it with a dishcloth and letting it rest for that 10 minutes. Now, it had told you to put your cinnamon rolls in a cake pan. What is it? And like an 9 by 1.5 inch round baking pan. What was sad is I used to have 2 of those. Now I only have 1 because we hardly ever made a double layer cake. So I actually decluttered it. So if I were to do it again, I would get the ones that are disposable in the store, but I just put some in a loaf pan, some in that round pan. It was fine. They tasted the same and they did not know what pan they came out of, so I guess in the end it worked out fine anyway. Once it rested, then I flipped over my cookie sheet here and I put my parchment paper on the top of the cookie sheet because I thought it would be easier to roll it into a rectangle if it was sitting on a rectangle. So I'm just using my little dowel here and I'm using my parchment paper, which I don't know if that was actually necessary because like I said, it really was not sticky, which was amazing to me. This is a dowel that my husband cut up a few of those years ago when we were making our own tortillas by hand. And I actually prefer it as a rolling pin more than a real rolling pin. So again, just doing my best to make a rectangle out of this thing. Of course, the directions said 2 12 by 8 rectangles is what I was going to roll both of these doughs into, so I would have 2 total, like one ball would be a 12 by 8, the other ball would be a 12 by 8. That's a nice thought. Mine definitely was not 12 by 8, but as I said before, it really didn't rise as much as they said. And so I am melting 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm supposed to brush it over the dough. I, of course, did not read the directions correctly, and I am sprinkling the ½ cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon over top, and then I go, oh, crud, I was supposed to brush the butter over it first, because how am I brushing the butter over it when I have all of this sugar and cinnamon on top? But that's okay. I have this silicone pastry brush, so I just kind of slopped it over the top and it worked out just fine. And then the second ball of dough I do correctly. So no one was the wiser. No one can tell which was which. So I call that a success. I tell you, you mixed butter melted with cinnamon and sugar. Really, could anything come out too terrible? You already know you're going to please your family. We got some homemade dough going down here, and we also have melted butter and sugar. My husband was there kind of coaching me along and encouraging me. So now I'm just going to roll it. Notice I'm rolling it so that it's longwise and not shortwise. And then you have to seal up the end, which my husband was like, you know, if you'd have put water on the edge before you did that, it would have been easier to seal up. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I need to get some water. So I end up getting water on my fingers that I can just use to seal it up. See, there I go. And it was fine. Again, the dough doesn't know what order you do things. We don't have to worry about it. We just do our best, and then the family eats it, and they think we're just the bee's knees for doing it at all. And just to report, so you use a string to cut the dough, like I'm doing here. If you use dental floss, which may or may not be what I used, and if you use minty dental floss, because you forget that your dental floss is minty, the mint flavor does not come through on the cinnamon roll. I have it on good authority. So then I'm supposed to be cutting these all even, right? So that they'll cook even. Well, as you can see, look at that little tiny one in the middle. I didn't cut them all even, but they came out gorgeous. It was fine. I was actually trying to cut them about the size of the cake pan. Glad I failed, because you got to give them room to rise, you know. So I am just cutting away with my dental floss. This part I found very fun and satisfying and almost magical, I have to say. I did enjoy doing this little process, and by now, you can see on my phone, it is 2:53 in the afternoon. This is definitely not breakfast. I would recommend, if you're going to make this for breakfast, do it the day before. Also, I forgot to grease my little pan, so then I had to take them all out, grease the pan, and put them all back in again. If you're new to my channel and you are still here, that means we're besties. If you stick around, that makes us family. So how do you stick around? Go ahead and click on the little subscribe button underneath the video. You have a better chance of finding out when I upload a new video. If you like homemaking, motivation, cleaning, decluttering, cooking, DIYs, decorating, that's not picture perfect. That's not Pinterest perfect. That is just a real life wife and mom just doing her best every day, then I feel like this is the place for you. Not only for the videos, but because I have the most positive community of amazing people down in my comments section, and they will be working their hardest to encourage you through your life as well. I turned the parchment paper over to roll out the second dough, but I just wanted to show you that I did learn from my mistakes, and I did brush on the butter first the second time around. Once these were all in their pans, I put them in a 375-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. I found the time was true to what they said. You cool them slightly, remove them from the pan, and you're going to drizzle some powdered sugar icing on them. I'm about to show you what they look like when they came out. These came out absolutely gorgeous, golden brown on the top, nice and soft on the inside. So there's that cake pan full, and then my loaf pan full. As you can see, they expanded to the size of the pan, and now I'm taking it out. It came out as like I could have made a cinnamon roll cake out of this. My daughter said it reminded her of monkey bread, which I have to agree. And now once they're cooled off just a little bit so that they're not going to melt your icing, then they're ready to be iced. And the only thing I did was I took confectioner's sugar, and then I took whole milk, and you could use a heavy whipping cream or light cream, whatever you happen to have. You just put a little in it at a time, like a couple of tablespoons, mix it up. Just a little bit of the, I had like a cup and a half of the confectioner's sugar. You're just trying to get it to the right consistency. It's definitely less is more. It goes a long way because it's kind of thin. In hindsight, okay, if it's too thin, add more sugar. If it's too thick, add more milk. 1 tablespoon at a time. In hindsight, I wish I would have added a little bit of vanilla to this. I felt like the taste was too sugary without a flavor to back it up, if that makes sense. So you might want to add a capful of imitation vanilla or vanilla, whatever you happen to have on hand. And again, when it's thinner than you want, you just add more sugar to it. And if it's thicker than you want to add more liquid to it. Easy peasy. And that is what it came out looking like. And I think I might do this again over Christmas because it was so well received. All right, we have yummy food now. That is secure. So now it is time to go to the upstairs bathroom and show you how all of the progress that I've kind of showed you in the past, how it all came to be. So the new plywood is coming in, all ready to put on the bathroom floor. As always, I always wonder why these projects take so long because I've never done them. And so when I went through all of this footage, and believe me, I have sped it up, I have trimmed it down, but all of the place it, see how it looks, see if it's okay, remove it, measure, place it, remove it, measure, replace it, bring it out, trim it down, put it in, see if it works, and then you nail it down. And then you start with the flooring. You do the same thing. You've got that area around the toilet to deal with. You have in front of the tub to deal with. Then I'm like, oh, okay, no wonder this took so long. Oh my goodness. No wonder he handed me 8 hours of footage. So once this video is up, then you're caught up to date, and I can just little by little, we'll be back to, because this was when he took 2 days off. This is the second day. And once I'm done with that, he'll be back to, doing it an hour on a Saturday, and we'll just piecemeal it together. We'll be doing trim work next, and that will feel good to get up. And then I'm not quite sure what will come after that. I will have to get back to you on that. While he's working, just to catch you up a little bit on my life, many of you know that my daughter Rachel is an artist, and so she is expanding her horizons, and she's going to be selling some greeting cards as well as prints of her work. She has some nature prints. Nature art will also sell her. She'll also sell the originals as well. I know she has one that is a deer, one that's a cat, one that is a mouse, maybe with a mushroom, I want to say. And I feel like there's another one that I can't remember. So I wasn't able to get a video up yesterday, and the reason is her and I drove into the city to look at different printers for her artwork so she can print it in-house, because originally she was going to be printing it or having it printed online, but we found that even the first batch, which would have been a small amount, would cost as much as the printer. So she feels like she's able to offer lower prices as well as save us money, the whole 9 yards, if she were to get a printer. So we went out to Best Buy, and of course, the one you want isn't there. And then we realized it didn't have a scanner. We were back at ground zero, so then we went to Books A Million so she could just kind of sit with her phone and do some more research. So at the end of the day, we did end up getting a printer. And that was why I was absent yesterday. And then today she's busy setting it up. The paper she needs comes in on Monday. Super excited about that, because of course we found the correct paper, and online it said it was at Target, but we got to Target and they didn't have any. Of course, all of this was, we're trying to do this very quickly always, and you always end up with little snags. But the good thing is she did get the printer set up today, got the colors in. Everything went smoothly. She was able to print a test page and everything, able to connect it to her laptop, which is not a new laptop. So everything so far for her is going as well as usual. But, sometimes, one of the things I'm going to say, I was about to say sometimes you need to step back and be there for your child. And she's an adult, but I know from my having a YouTube business how much it has helped me. There's been times she's sat with me. She's figured things out for me. She put up my Amazon store for me. There's been a lot of things that she's done for me. And a lot of times we'll use a buddy system where she's working on digital art and I'm in the same room editing. So it was just a privilege that she wanted me to go with her to work on this and to figure this out. I was super excited. And I can't wait for her to get to sell greeting cards. I feel like this is the perfect time of year for people to get some of those things if they're into letter writing. And I'm so glad for her. That is what we did yesterday. And then poor Yvonne, when I got home, wasn't feeling well. So I did sit with her for a good deal of time, poor thing. I feel so bad for her. At the beginning of this video, she's hungry, she's happy, and I've just been in awe at her attitude, that she's definitely looking at a glass half full, not a glass half empty. And whenever she can be happy in her giggly, bubbly self, she is, even if it's 5 minutes after she felt deathly ill. So I'm really thankful for that. And yeah. So here's my husband. He's carving out. He doesn't have the best tools for cutting, definitely not the most modern. We're not doing this all the time, that he would be buying those things. So it's just kind of a do your best sort of thing. He used to hate, what was that show called? My Old House or something like that. He hated watching that show because he was like, oh, if I had all of the tools he had, my stuff might come out looking like that too. You know, everything always looks so easy because they had 50 million drill bits and 85 million saws and all the things. One of the things I'm impressed with as I watch through the footage and edit this is how many times he pulled out the vacuum cleaner through the whole process. That made my heart glad. I'm sure if he didn't do that, it would affect how things laid down, and that's what he was concerned about. Also, we had bought the stuff you put underneath the vinyl plank flooring, the cushioning, because the young man at Lowe's thought we needed it, but we didn't actually need it for the type of vinyl plank flooring that we have. I don't think I have the receipt. I bought it months ago, but I think I'm still going to go to Lowe's and see if they would take it back. That's what the flooring looks like, by the way. That's why I kind of like left you here, is so that you could see it. Anyways, I'm going to go back to Lowe's with it and just see if maybe they would give me whatever, even if it was like whatever a sale price is, if they would give that back to me. Even if it was a gift card, I would be happy with that. I can always try. Worst they can say is no. I've always been bad about returning things. Just recently, I did bring something that they had given me. I always ask for rice cauliflower. They always end up giving me rice veggies, which I'm not going to make a cauliflower pizza out of. So I actually brought it back to the store. I was pretty proud of myself, but one of the reasons I did was I got turkey breast for $1.49 a pound, and they charged me $3.50 a pound because they had never marked it down in the store. So I was able to get my money back, the amount they overcharged me, and I was able to return the riced veggies. So I thought, okay, I'm on a roll now. What else can I return? Because I'm always really terrible at returning things. In other news, when do you put up your Christmas decor? Did I already ask you that? I feel like I probably already asked you that. I think in the United States, it's most common to put it up around Thanksgiving weekend, which is when I usually do it. And I was just thinking, oh, I'm not going to rush fall. I'm not going to rush fall. And then I watched Kimmy Cope. She did her... And by the way, it's Kimi and then Cope. She did her living room. She decorated her living room for Christmas. It's so cute. And then Kimmy from The Wads, the channel named The Wads, she did a shop with me that I watched this morning, and she went to several stores. And it actually gave me some ideas for, because I have all older kids. They're between 18 years old and 31 years old. And it definitely gave me some ideas for stocking stuffers, as well as, small gifts, fun gifts. So I'm going to be sharing that with you soon. I'm going to do something a little different since all of my kids are going to be here. I don't necessarily feel like adult children that have spouses need a Christmas stocking, but I'm the type of person, if I do something for one person, I've got to do it for everybody, and they'll all be here, on Christmas Day. So what I've decided to do for my single girls who live at home is I've also always wanted to celebrate Hanukkah. Jesus celebrated Hanukkah. It talked about him going somewhere for the Festival of Lights, which is Hanukkah. And so I thought, I'm going to get myself a menorah, and I'm going to do the one gift a day. And I've told the girls we're going to do that in place of a stocking. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun to give them a present kind of leading up to Christmas, just something small every day, which kind of sounds like an advent calendar. So I do have one single daughter. I don't mean I have one single daughter, but I have one daughter who is single, living in North Carolina. So instead of doing a gift a day for her in the same way, tied to Hanukkah, I'm going to send her, hopefully she's not watching, but I don't think she is. I'm going to send her like a little advent calendar with maybe some self-care products or something like that, so she can have something every day too. So I'm really excited about that. It's just fun to get to try new traditions out to see how we like it. And then if it goes well, we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't go well, we can just change it again. That's also one of the benefits of having older kids. When I was a kid, what we would do, and my parents didn't have a lot of money. My mom had these 3 angels, and there were 3 of us sisters, and she would hang an angel, one was for each of us, on the wall. We would cut ribbons and make a chain, and we would do, I think it was I think it was the 12 days before Christmas is what we would do. So every night before we went to bed, we got to cut a piece of the chain off. And then it finally gets to Christmas Eve and you take down the last piece of the chain. It's so interesting because if kids were into advent calendars back then, I didn't know about it. I didn't know of any friends who had an advent calendar. I cannot tell you the excitement that my sisters and I had to get to cut a piece of ribbon chain off every night and to know that we were one chain ring short, closer to Christmas. And it just was a great build-up, and it was something that didn't cost my mom a whole lot of money. I think we use ribbon. I've done it before with construction paper too. But that was such a wonderful tradition. And she thought of some fun things that didn't cost money. I think that is very inspiring to me of how you can use what you have and just create excitement. And there's something about doing the same thing every year that makes it even that more worthwhile. Okay, now didn't you think, oh, she's just showing me the same footage again? No, he was laying down pieces of the floor and then he's vacuuming again. He must have found more sawdust or something. And I was thinking, wow, this is why this is taking so long. And now he's actually screwing the pieces of plywood into the floor. I remember a day when plywood was considered cheap. It is definitely not considered cheap anymore. In fact, don't you remember after 2020, it suddenly got a lot more expensive to get plywood? So we were really glad that the floor underneath of it was intact and didn't need to be replaced, because whenever you take something apart, you never ever know what you're actually going to find.
After all that, we're finally ready to set the floor in here. We secured the tub over here. We've put down the right thickness of subflooring to bring us up to where the flange is for the toilet, and we've covered everything, secured it to the floor. The type of vinyl tile that we have already has a backing on it. If you happen to buy some that doesn't, you have to buy a roll of the backing, and I do have some of that. I could certainly show you what it looks like. Basically, the way the floor is, I can start putting the vinyl down. And the vinyl, it is a lock-in connecting tile. And it also is floating, meaning you don't put anything under it. So you don't secure it with a paste or a glue. And you try to keep it a little bit away from the wall so it has room to move as necessary, as it may swell or shrink. So anyway, we got to lay it out, then we start cutting, put everything in place. Once we get to the point where we've cut everything, then we'll try to figure out the heater and put the toilet back in. And I'm hoping to at least get the toilet back in today. That's my goal.
So we're putting down vinyl plank flooring that interlocks. You can get peel and stick if you want to. We chose to go with the interlocking. It has a great price point. Definitely so much less expensive than ceramic tile. And I feel like it'll have give as the floor kind of expands and contracts throughout the seasons.
I have walked through the darkest valley. I was lost, couldn't find my way. But then I heard him from within, he who died for my sins. He spoke my name, then I saw his face. Yes, I've seen his eternal glory. I felt his hand when I was astray. I never knew until then what his love truly meant. I was lost, but now I'm found by his grace. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. He is the Lamb and he is the shepherd. He's the burning flame within my soul. The fire in my heart. He is my joy, he is my song. He is right when all is wrong. He's my savior and the light in the dark. Oh, I know I'm on a long and arduous journey. It is a narrow and a winding path. But he is always there through hope and despair. And when I'm lost, I'm always found by his grace. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. He will never let me down. Help me stand my ground. He is always there for me. All my battles will be by his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord. By his grace, by his grace, I've been saved by the grace of my Lord.
Let me see. I've been working back and forth with some of these issues.
Right here.
I see it. Yeah.
Oh, it's just not stuck.
It doesn't clip in like you would think they do. I wish they clipped in better than they did.
Well, they look nicer. They'll probably be easier to clean.
I'm gonna have to glue that down.
Right.
And like, why are there gaps in some spots and not in others?
It's just about how tight I pulled it together at the moment. I'll have
Is there a way
to
to
try to
fix
pull
it?
them closer to you. You mean in here?
Like this one has a big gap and this one has no gap.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are coming toward the end. He has so much of this in place, and then he's going to be doing whatever needs to be done there for the toilet hole right there. You know, we were able to keep Leo out of it. That was a good thing. And then he can get that toilet back in, get it all hooked up. I'm telling you, you're spoiled when you have 2 bathrooms and suddenly you spend a couple of days with one, which is actually kind of sad. But, you know, I guess when you're used to it, it just becomes a luxury that, because I remember there were 5 people in my house growing up, and there's 5 people in our home right now. We always had 1 bathroom. Of course, there were times where it was like, hurry up in the bathroom. And I remember because our bus would come to pick us up at like 6:45, my dad would go in the bathroom at 6:30, or did he leave at 6:30? Maybe he went in from 6:15 to 6:30. I remember it being just the worst time ever for him to go into the bathroom because you had to get up early to get things done, or you had to hurry up after he got out of there. There were 3 girls trying to get ready for school. You know, it's not like we had makeup mirrors in our, not that I didn't, well, I probably did makeup in high school, but it wasn't like we did, you know, a lot of like having a vanity in our room. We didn't have any of that. So it was the bathroom or nothing. And I can remember sometimes you're brushing your teeth in the kitchen sink because you can't get yourself in the bathroom in time and you had to get up early enough and all those good things. But you can get pretty spoiled. There's times where we're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we had 3 bathrooms? Other times you're thinking, how about 4? Also, what do you think of the blue that I had on my wall before? I think when I did it, I mean, it was several years ago. At the time, I was really going for kind of a tropical look in my house because I wanted it to feel like I was on vacation, which is kind of funny considering I live on a lake. That is vacation, but I was kind of looking for that whole tropical feel, and I did that in my downstairs. And now I've kind of gone coastal when I live on a lake, but I grew up on the coast, so it has a real homey feel for me. But the blue definitely wore out its welcome, and everyone was super happy that we're getting rid of that, and it's a much more muted, you know, it was supposed to be tropical, and now, but the kids were younger too, so I could do kind of fun shower curtains, and now we're more older and we want the spa type feel when we go into the bathroom. And I have to say, Yvonne was like, I'm gonna want to be in there all the time taking baths, and I was like, uh-oh, we're in trouble if somebody wants to be in there all the time. So you want to make your bathroom comfortable and nice to be in, but I will say, don't make it too nice. Some of you might remember when the toilet went in our bedroom so that he could work, and how nasty the back of the toilet was that was up against the wall. Years and years, you know, since 1987 or something, that thing had been against the wall. No, actually, we replaced that one at some point, but I had to just leave it here so you could see how nasty and grimy it is. I mean, it's at least 10 years old, but I do think we bought that since we moved in here. So I was going to clean it up for my husband, and then I completely forgot about it, and then he was ready. He's using a brush right now, which was much more effective, but you can even see he's like, okay, I need a stiffer cleaner. That's the tub cleaner that I use, the Method tub cleaner. So I guess he didn't have to use anything too strong. So that says something about that Method tub cleaner. It works really good if it cleaned the back of this toilet. Awful glad he put down paper towels there because that would have been a mess on my brand new flooring, wouldn't it? Oh goodness, but it feels good. Now I know it's clean back there. I might not, you know, ever get to see it, but at least I know it's clean. We don't know how long that will last. I'm sure it was all trapped moisture. You know what trapped moisture, I can't even say it, trapped moisture causes. That is that color. I don't even want to say it out loud. You know, definitely not healthy. So maybe every few years I might want him to kind of pull that out so we can clean it. Now he's putting a strip of wallpaper floor to ceiling right here so that he doesn't have to worry about pulling the toilet out or having it show that it's not exactly even. And when he's done with that, I will show you what the after looked like on that day. And mayhaps in my next video, I will remind you of what it looks like today, because we have since put a little vanity in. That is a temporary thing until we could afford a double sink, bigger vanity, and who knows what we might change our minds about and put in a little shelving and a little decor that I've shown you in another video. Man, if you've made it this far, you are family. You're not just friends, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I did put in one song, but it was a mostly chatty video. I love to chat with you. And I also love to watch chatty videos. So if you love that too, then you definitely loved this one, because we're just shy of an hour that we have been hanging out together. And boy, I am also thankful that my husband is able to do these things. Not only that he can do it, but that he's willing to do it. Do I know if I could do it? Well, maybe I could if I really tried, but I guarantee you it would take me 6 times longer. It definitely is helpful when somebody has some knowledge that they start out with. So here was what the after looked like on this day. That floor all done. I just love it. And the wall that we've done so far, more to come. Remember, as always, that God loves you and I love you too. And I can't wait to see you next time.